Hello, friends, listeners, newcomers, oldcomers, every comer. Welcome to the podcast. Everything is traumatic. This week we have Jeff back, and we dive straight in about being mindful, about mindfulness, being present in the moment. We offer some tips and kind of skills that we use to stay grounded and be present in the moment. And I share a little bit more about EMDR and like what I've been doing. So yeah, it's a really good episode. Tune in. It's going to be a traumatic old time. Get into your safe spaces and cozy on in to episode 50 of Everything is Traumatic.
Hi, I'm Jeff, and I'm a therapist.
And I'm Tyler, and I'm a patient.
We're going to talk about trauma, healing, and everything. Everything is traumatic. And we need to be able to sit in, unpleasantness instead of just trying to always escape it.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. And that's something that I kind of reached with my first, or I kind of reached that conclusion at this last therapy session yesterday. And I kind of talked about it on the last episode, but I don't know how well I explained it. But I don't even know if I can explain it now, but I'll try my best with you, Jeff.
Okay, I'm a good listener.
So with EMDR, it's been for the past year that I've been doing it, which if this is your first time listening, EMDR is a type of therapy. It stands for eye movement desensitization reprocessing therapy. So the idea is to follow a light, back up. The idea is you find a traumatic event and identify how it makes you feel, where you feel it, rate it on a scale. Follow this light to kind of go back to it and just kind of it's like you think about that memory and that feeling, and then you let your mind kind of wander with the thoughts. And I've done this on and off for the past year. There's a second part to it now that I guess I wasn't aware of or had forgotten about, because now we're taking a positive trait. Okay, so my thing is seeing my mom's dead body and feeling defective from that, and just feeling not worthy, not feeling like it's almost my fault. So I've got it to where I can think about that memory and it not dysregulate me. And now I'm trying to put something reinforce a positive. So the thing that I'm trying to reinforce is that I have value, that I am worthy, that I'm accepted by the tribe. So, the conclusion I kind of reached with the last one is there's kind of a disconnect between my logical mind and the emotional mind, where I know that I know as a person that I do have value. I know my value is not tethered or connected to that traumatic event. But it doesn't feel that doesn't feel right. So I am trying to learn to be more mindful and be present and sulk in emotions in general, instead of trying to distract myself from them, because that's what I do a lot.
That's a great explanation of not only EMDR, but healing in general.
Mm-hmm.
That was a great explanation of that. And I think it's nice to hear it coming from that kind of client viewpoint of, this is what you're learning from the therapist and you're learning from the process.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. I've talked about this before, but like, so in society, when people cry, the first thing they always say is, "Oh, I'm really sorry," or "You need to give me a minute," and then they try to pull it together.
Mm-hmm.
And in therapy, they do the same thing. "I'm really sorry, I'm crying." And in therapy, we say, "You don't need to apologize. This is a place where you can cry. There's
Mm-hmm.
nothing wrong with crying." So we as a society use medication, we use all kinds of drugs, we use alcohol, we use all kinds of distraction methods. And those are not always bad things to distract ourselves. We don't just have to soak in pain all the time.
No.
But it is important that we allow ourselves to feel real things. And sometimes that means feeling discomfort, anxiety, shame, guilt, that we allow ourselves to process through those instead of just
Right.
hiding from them. And that's what you're
Yes.
talking about with your EMDR is you're learning to not only see negative things in a horribly traumatic situation, but trying to remind yourself of things about yourself that are positive. And so that's that instead of just it only having a negative charge, it might have some positive charge too. You're learning to have it be more complex than just you're not worthy or you're bad or you did something wrong.
Right. And it's also just looking, especially like with that memory, it is like realizing that these are like your parents are two separate humans. Like they are parents to you and you've known them your whole life. And so it's hard to not to look at them as anything else but, they're humans. And so like you have to put not put yourself in their shoes, but like try to see their perspective, try to see what they're going through, try to see that people make bad choices sometimes. And, like it's very, for me especially, it's very complicated because it's not like they did not love me. It's
Right.
just like everyone else and like every person everyone's fighting like this internal battle, fighting whatever like thing they have going on, whether that's like a habit, a vice, an addiction, if it's just like bad brain days, even like it's hard to sympathize or empathize with that and see that everyone has their own shit going on, and it's hard
Yep.
for them not to be caught up in it. It's hard not to be entangled in it. And so yeah,
That's
it's hard to
that's
forgive
a
that.
really important distinction. And I think that's because as kids, when we're young, we blame anything bad that's happened many times on ourselves. So like if your parents
Hmm.
get a divorce or they're whatever it is, we think, "Oh, I must be faulty in some way,"
Right.
or they would be nicer to me. Or we just don't know that we're in a situation where bad things are happening because that's all we know. And so typically what we do is we internalize those things, say, "I'm bad," or "I must be bad," or "this must be my fault."
Hmm.
Um, and there's a lot of guilt and shame that comes from childhood for many different things that, I mean, they're religious reasons, they're just normal reasons. And I think therapy is one of the things is working through those things and sort of trying to process through that stuff. And one of my favorite things to talk about is that emotions are not bad or good.
Hmm.
Emotions are just emotions because we typically like, crying is a negative emotion, anger is a negative emotion. No, they're just emotions. And feelings are never wrong. What you feel is not wrong. Your actions can possibly be wrong, but feelings are not wrong. And so people are like, "I shouldn't be mad at my mother," or, I can't accept, I can't be angry at this person because maybe they're no longer with us. Maybe they're sick or whatever.
Hmm.
But emotions are never wrong. And we have to be able to let sometimes feel those things and let ourselves work through them and not feel guilt or shame for feeling an emotion, that those emotions are okay.
Yeah. And it's hard. It's hard for me. It's hard to keep that in mind because my for the longest time my defense, my way of kind of like dealing with it and getting by was kind of intellectualizing these feelings. And
Hmm.
like so I would feel things like incredibly strongly, but intellectualize them to not feel them as intense and to kind of not be a burden on anyone else. And
Yes.
don't want to bother them with that. And like that, just like that doesn't work for where I'm at anymore. So it's been just trying to be more present and feel the thing. And like one of the things that like I think is like, I don't know, like the key to mindfulness is just like it's kind of like it's kind of like you don't attach to what that's like that's the key. You don't attach to these emotions. Like these emotions like are not wrong, like you mentioned. Like you feel them, but you don't attach to them. You don't let them like linger. You don't hold on to them. You let them go. Like they need to come by and like pass, kind of like a fucking cloud, you know?
Right. Right. That's a great description. Yeah, like a dark cloud that goes over the sky and then stays there for a few minutes and then passes.
Mm-hmm.
And again, what we try to do is we try to, when we have those, and this is everybody, I mean, this is just the way we do it. Once we have start to feel that cloud, we want to hide from it. And so instead of just letting the cloud come in and pass, I will distract myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so then it just means I'm not dealing with that feeling. And so, this whole idea we have to feel good all the time. We can never feel down or depressed or whatever. Um, it's pushed by society all the way, all the time, because it's just like, do this, do this. If you feel bad, do this, all these things.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes just taking those moments just to be like uncomfortable and like, okay, I don't feel great right now. And we don't want you to feel bad all the time. But those moments when the cloud comes in, letting the cloud and experiencing the cloud, and then it'll eventually pass.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're like, okay, so I was able to live through that moment, and now I don't feel as bad.
Yeah, it's man. I gotta clear my throat. Maybe just a little more coffee.
You need a little more, another sip of coffee
No
of
sip of
JoJo
coffee.
juice.
Little JoJo. Little JoJo juice.
JoJo juice.
I just need a little more JoJo juice. My throat is dry. No, I agree. Like it is like you just let the moment happen, let the feeling happen because feeling like there's no feeling that is actually final. There's no it's not going to last forever. You're not going to be angry for the rest of your life if you allow yourself to feel angry for a few minutes instead of just. And that's kind of like my thing is that, like, especially when it comes to dealing with like anger, it's very much like a build up until it explodes
Yeah.
type of thing. And it's like being on the other end of that, like on both sides, on being like, in the room when someone explodes, because I mean I've done it and like Sandy has done it, and it's like never towards the other one, but it's like you just kind of rage, it feels like, for
Yes.
like a
Yeah.
few minutes, and just be angry and just like get to where you can like come down from that, and it makes the other one like feel kind of like reserved and quiet and upset, not upset, but like just scared. And it's like that's
Yeah.
that's just kind of like the household. That's how the household kind of was. Like, you
Yeah.
kind of turn the TV up a little more because like you
Yeah.
hear the
Yeah.
yelling.
Yeah. I mean, and I think I mean, we don't ever want to attack or take our feelings out on another person,
Mm-mm.
but it's going to happen sometimes. We get snippy, especially with those people we care about. And I think what we try to do is we apologize for that, or we go back later and say, "I'm really sorry that I snipped at you. I was feeling anxiety. I was feeling upset about this test I have tomorrow. I was anxious about this."
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the process of owning your behavior. So that's where the you are responsible for your behavior, and you are behavior can possibly be harmful. Those feelings aren't though. So the feelings that are behind that are not bad. And so sometimes I think explaining like, I'm really sorry I snapped at you. I'm having anxiety. I shouldn't have done that, but I do want to let you know about my anxiety. Can we talk about that maybe when I'm anxious, you know? And so instead of snipping, say, you know, I'm anxious right now. I'm really feeling scared, or I'm overwhelmed.
Mm.
And learning to do that, that's sort of like life lessons where we evolve and we
Yeah.
hopefully move. And but in relationships, those are hard because we tend to be the hardest on the people that we're closest to because we feel comfortable with them,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah, that's very true. And it's like me and her have talked about it numerous of times, and it's like, like we're not mad at the other one. It's just like we had a bad day, so we need to just like let it out when we get home.
Yeah.
And, it's something to like it's something to work on, and like it takes time. It takes steps, and it's not
Yeah.
like I don't think it's a huge deal because again, it's not like we're throwing shit and
Yeah.
we're just
But
kind
I
of
mean, it's
like,
part of a relationship, and that's part of that mindfulness is realizing there are going to be tough moments in any kind of relationship, family, friends, partners.
mm,
There are going to be moments that are not happy. And so the idea that that doesn't mean you have a bad relationship because there are moments when you are angry or you are snippy with each other. That's part of it, you
mm,
know. And so um, those are the moments for improvement. You know, those are the moments for talking through things and being genuine with each other and taking the risk of like, I'm scared, you know, I'm scared of this or I'm anxious about this, where you actually sort of become a little bit vulnerable and we grow. And that's, you know, with a therapist, we become vulnerable very quickly. You know, usually you go in and you start talking day one or two about all these very serious things. And so a relationship with a therapist is also similar in some ways to a partnership, that there may be some days when you feel snippy with your therapist, or they may not be 100%, you know, they may not be as good every time, you know, they might be tired or whatever.
mm-hmm.
It's a process too. And it is a relationship. It's not always perfect. And that's okay, you know, to tell your therapist, you know, I didn't feel great about this session, or I'm sorry I snapped at you, or and then a therapist sometimes will apologize for, you know, I've got a lot on my mind. I'm sorry I may not have given you as much attention as you needed today.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes part of that how to have a healthy relationship. And that's how you have a healthy relationship is you talk through
Yep.
things and you try to be vulnerable with each other. And it's scary.
It is because like if it's hard to do that in a relationship, imagine trying to do that for an entire human race of strangers having to talk to each other in that manner.
Yeah.
Like that's why there's a lot of like that's why it's like there's just I don't know, it feels like there's a huge disconnect. I feel like that we it's easy for us to be colder towards each other
Mm,
because because just we don't communicate with each other, like
right.
we don't actually talk to everyone that we encounter on a level because we don't it's hard to trust a stranger nowadays. You don't know if this guy's going to just fucking jerk off in front of you or if this person's going to like just take your bag or just, stab you. Like it's scary.
Right.
And like those are all like people who I think also have emotions and they're just not expressing it properly. They're
Sure.
expressing it
I
in a
mean,
very
yeah, everybody is worthy of kindness and understanding, but it's, part of it is we're scared. We are programmed by the world and the media and things that it's a very dangerous place. And sure, there's dangers. And as a white privileged male, I'm not as in, I don't have to worry about certain things. I was talking to some young ladies the other day and they were talking about what to do when you go to a club. I got to cover my drink. I need to make sure my drink is, I don't ever have to worry about that. I mean, it's possible that somebody could spike my drink, but I have certain privilege that I don't have to worry about certain things. But I mean, there are things to be concerned about, but I don't think it's like general people are kind people. Most people are kind. Most people are, when you get to that, past that level of that uncomfortableness or maybe the rush through, I think most people would help somebody if they could help somebody.
mm-hmm.
I'll give an example. We talked a couple of weeks ago about my friend whose uh, husband passed away, and people have just been amazing helping her.
Mm-hmm.
People that she's not heard from for years have come out, and then people are like, "I'll bring you food, or I'll help you. I'll give you a gift card, or what do you need?" And so I think in general, people want to help. It's just hard because we get in this rush. We're at the grocery store and we're in a rush, and somebody gets in front of us, and our first thing is like, "How dare you?" And then it's like, "Calm down, man. This is not that big a deal. If I have to wait another 10 seconds." Like I was at the bank the other day and they had two tellers, and one of the tellers was doing the front and drive through. And there were
Mm-hmm.
like four people in front of me, and I'm getting annoyed. And I'm like, couldn't they have more people? And then I just calm myself down. I'm like, I got nowhere to be. I'm going to calm down. And one of the ladies was just so positive. She was just, every person she talked to, she was just like, "Have a great weekend. I hope you have a good day." And so when I got to the front, I said, "You have such a great attitude." She goes, "Well, it's Friday." And it's like, that's a great way to look at it. She's working hard. She's
Mm-hmm.
understaffed. She's
Yep.
keeping positive. And so I was able to readjust. And so in the past, I might have gotten more and more irritated. But who does that hurt? It doesn't hurt her. It hurts me. I become anxious. My teeth grit. I can feel my blood pressure going up. So it's just like in the past, I would not have handled it as well. I wouldn't have yelled at anybody, but I would have been irritated internally
Mm-hmm.
instead of just sort of trying. And that's what, so when we say mindfulness, that's what we're talking about. Mindfulness is a big word for just basically being in the here and now. And so what I was able to do, and this is not like I'm great or anything, it's just like I was able to take that anxiety that was rising in me. I was able to say, hey, in the scheme of things, how important is this for me to get upset about? And so I had gotten a little bit upset. I was able to calm myself down by just saying, you know what? I gotta do this. It's gonna have to happen. I need
Mm-hmm.
to do this.
Yeah.
And so I can either be irritated or I can just sort of pull it back down. And then I just sort of watched. I just sort of watched the people. Um, I listened to the noise of the little like drive through thing. I just tried to like calm myself down.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that was because she was being so calm. And so I was able to say, okay, if this lady who's working in a tough environment can be calm, I can be calm. And
Yeah.
so that's what we're talking about mindfulness is being able to sort of, what am I feeling? Is it really that important that I feel this? Maybe it is. Sometimes it may be that you say I'm very anxious or I'm very mad or I need to address this. It may be that it is, but the mindfulness is evaluating that and
Mm-hmm.
realizing, okay, so is this amount of energy that I'm feeling, is that important at this moment? Is it really important that sometimes we have to stand up for ourselves, sometimes we have to fight battles? But I think it's choosing that and being able to say, where can I readjust? And at the end of the day, it makes it better for you because I was
Mm-hmm.
able to calm down.
Yeah.
So it made it much more pleasant.
Yeah, and instead of distracting yourself in that moment, you really just kind of looked around and were present, and like that's it's especially, it feels like I'm going to sound like an old man, especially in this day and age. it's
In my
so
day.
it's so easy to get distracted. It's so easy to distract yourself.
Hmm.
But if you really just stop and look around for a second, like, and be present
Yeah.
and
There's
just,
like there I can't ever get it right, but it's like five things you see, four things you smell, three things you hear, it's like observing. And so like being in that bank, there's a lot of different noises going on. And so it was able to like sort of ground myself, and I could have been on my phone too, you know. But it was able to ground yourself and to say, like let's figure out what's going on. Let's take in the environment. And I think that calms us a little bit. I don't know if I told you this, but I really enjoy listening to the birds. I go outside. We've got a little feeder.
mm,
Somebody said the reason that bird song is calming to us is because birds would not be present if there were danger present. If
oh,
birds were
yeah.
worried about a predator, they would not sing. And so it's almost like a little evolutionary thing that when we hear birds, our brain goes, "Oh, we must be safe."
Yeah.
Because,
Because the birds are
you know,
safe.
yeah, the birds are safe, right? And I mean,
If the
I went
birds
to
are
a conference
safe.
a conference a while back that said nature is the healing factor. And I really believe that there is something about nature, and it can be
Hmm.
done in many different ways, but just going outside sometimes after, if you're feeling really bad, or walking a little bit, or getting up from my desk at work and taking a lap, that really helps your brain, I think, to reevaluate.
Hmm.
Because I'm sitting in a dark office, I'm feeling really blue. I'm like, what's going on? And it's like, so I'm going to take a walk.
Hmm.
And then maybe I don't feel as blue. So, I mean, mindfulness is sort of trying to be aware of what your body is telling you
Yeah.
and seeing what you can do at the moment instead of saying, oh, I'm going to flip through TikTok for 5 hours. There's nothing wrong with TikTok, but I'll find myself doing that. And then I feel like I've wasted a lot of time, and then I feel bad. I'm just like,
Hmm.
there are things I could have done here. So it's
Yeah.
okay to relax, but it's also try to take like an inventory. Where am I feeling my tension? Is my tension in my shoulders? Is it in my brain? Is it in my body?
Hmm.
Sometimes I will take a deep breath, or like just a deep cleansing breath, trying to figure out what's going on. So these are little techniques that I use for myself, and sometimes I'll talk to clients about. But a breath, a deep breath gets oxygen in your body. It gets oxygen in your blood. It can
Yeah.
help you think more clearly,
Hmm.
and it can also calm you down.
Yeah, like when they when people say take a deep breath, like it does help. Like I even
Yeah.
especially do it when I'm doing the EMDR. Like it really helps to
Yeah.
just take a deep breath after following that light, and it's like it's so weird because like you feel like you're doing it wrong at times, and
But there's
I
no real wrong way to do it. You don't want to
no,
hyperventilate,
no, you don't want to
which would be
hyperventilate.
like short, quick. But I mean, I will actually take breaths in during sessions when I'm the therapist because somebody says something that is especially sort of disturbing or traumatic, and it's just I'll just take a deep breath because I'm trying to ground myself, because
And
I'm like,
yeah,
that really sounds like that person is experiencing something horrible. So
mm-hmm,
I'll take a breath, and it's just like a deep breath in and out, and it's I know the client can see me do that, and so it's just like that's some self-regulation for me of like, oh wow, I'm really sorry they're going through that. I need to
yeah,
ground myself, and so it sounds dumb, but a deep breath, touching something, taking your shoes off. I mean, I like sometimes to just take my shoes off and feel carpet underneath my feet. It's just grounding yourself, literally grounding yourself. And what is it the teenagers say? Touch grass. You
Touch
need to touch
grass. Is
grass.
that what they
Have you
say?
heard that?
I have.
Yeah.
I have.
It means you need to go outside and touch grass. You need to be with nature. So you're just obsessed. It's like that guy needs to touch grass,
Oh, well, I
you
love
know.
that. I love that teenagers are saying that now. Even they know that you need to go outside.
And they may mean touching marijuana.
I mean, they. I didn't think about
You need
that,
to
but
touch some
maybe
grass, baby.
you need to. Maybe
You
that's
need
what
to
they're.
get some grass.
They
I
could
don't think
be
they call. I don't think they call. Didn't when was it called grass?
I mean,
Smoke some
70s,
grass. Is that like
60s,
70s?
70s. Yeah, that's an old
Yeah,
head term. Yeah,
yeah.
they're
I need to
calling
take
it.
some grass,
They're
smoke
t-
some grass.
they're calling it flour now.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
it's an offshoot.
Flour.
But I think one of the things that helps me be kind of mindful and in the moment is like I don't know if it's like it is kind of a separate skill, but like it really helps me to just check the facts on things and just kind of be like if I find myself getting kind of heady and like thinking about things or getting anxious, it's nice for me to kind of like just stop and just kind of think like okay, like if I'm feeling anxious, why why is this feeling coming up?
Yeah,
Is there any immediate danger around me? Is there anything bad that can happen right now?
yeah, yeah. Then that's what that EMDR is doing for you
Hmm.
too. Is training you to be like, am I really in danger right this moment? You might
Yeah.
be, or am I remembering something that causes me to have that reaction?
Yes.
Am I letting my brain, and I mean that's normal when we're traumatized for our body immediately to go back to that fight or flight. But
Hmm.
then you can talk yourself through it. Am I really in danger? That's a really good question to ask. And then you can say, oh, okay, I'm not in danger, so I can relax a little bit.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean it goes away, the discomfort goes away, but it's like, okay, you're letting your brain know I am not in physical danger right now.
Yes. I'm
And so you
not.
can calm a
Yes.
little bit.
I am safe for the time being.
Yeah, yeah. I used to when I'm a pretty calm person, but I used to there were certain things that would make me angry. And when I got that kind of angry, I would get so far ahead of myself, I wouldn't think. And so I'm not like cursing, throwing things or whatever, but I'm sometimes sending an email I shouldn't send. I'm sometimes fighting about something I shouldn't fight about,
Mm.
with like a arguing about. And so, but I actually was like 10 steps ahead of where my brain was. My emotion was already there. And so like one of the things I have learned that has made my life so much better is I can pull it back and then I can say, one of my biggest thing is, do I need to actually have a reaction or can I
Hmm.
just deal with this? Sometimes we need to have a reaction. Sometimes we need to advocate for ourselves or others. But in some cases, it's like, do I even need to have a response to this? My boss recently, I have a good boss, but like I had to leave work and I didn't tell her in a timely manner. I had a handyman issue, blah blah blah, and I said I need to leave, and I sent it about 2 hours before I had to leave, and her response was, "You can, but I'd like to have at least I'd like to have more than an hour's notice,"
Hmm.
and a smiley face. So in the past, I would have said, "Well, blah 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 blah," but my response was simply, "I'm really sorry." Something came up, but I'm sorry I told you late.
Hmm.
I didn't fight with her. And then it was done. I mean, she wasn't mad about it. It was a little bit of a response that was like in my brain started going forward, like, oh, you're questioning me? But then it was like, this is not a fight I have to have. She's saying yes. I don't have to tell this. So I just
Yeah.
said, I'm really sorry. It just came up and it was done. And so my anxiety went up and then it came back down because I don't have to,
Yeah.
I don't have anything I have to do with that. But in the past, it would have been like, I would call somebody, can you believe what my boss just said? you
Right.
know,
And
and,
it's
and I accelerated it instead of just being like, it doesn't really matter. This is
mhm.
okay. Done.
It's so yeah, and like we're kind of afraid to admit when we're wrong. We're kind of
Yeah.
we associate being wrong with like that means you're a bad person. Because you
Yeah.
were wrong
Yeah.
in this,
Yeah.
you are a terrible human being. And it's like it's
Right.
okay to be wrong. It's part of being human, I think, is to be wrong
Yeah.
and be
It's a
open.
reasonable request for your boss to say, I need notice for this.
Hmm.
I mean, she didn't say no. And even if she had said no, then I would have said, okay, well, I can't go. Is this, um, so I mean, yeah, it's that kind of thing of, well, maybe we should have done something differently. Maybe we can learn from this
Hmm.
instead of just jumping to the thing of it feels bad to be told no, or it feels bad to be told to do it differently.
Hmm.
You know, it's that little kid thing, like when you're get caught, doing something wrong and you feel ashamed. Sometimes I still feel that way when adults, well, I'm an adult, but I mean, when superiors say something to me, I feel like I've done something bad. And that's that
Right.
guilt and shame stuff from the past. It has really nothing to do with the situation there. It's my own past. And so it's really good, I think, you talking about the EMDR because EMDR is about taking those situations that we feel extreme emotion from and mediating that emotion to where it's manageable, where
Hmm.
we can say, okay, this was a horrible thing that happened. This was traumatic, but now I can think about it sometimes and I don't immediately feel ashamed or terrible. I can actually
Yeah.
think through it. I can actually grieve for it instead of going to the immediate thing of, I'm a terrible person.
Hmm.
I must be bad.
Yes. I must be, in my case, defective.
Yes.
And like, that's kind of how I feel even with that thought is like, I know logically I'm not, but the emotion
Right.
is like, it doesn't feel like that. But that's okay
So,
because I'm, I'm better than what I was, you know?
so when you go to that thought, does it still sometimes immediately the first thing that comes to your mind is I must be defective? And then you're able to moderate that, or what happens sort of when you go there now?
Well, when I go there now, it's more of, with that thought in particular, it's like, it's, it's a sad memory, but
Mm,
this doesn't, it's a sad memory and it sucks and it went down in a really not so cool way. So,
yeah,
but it doesn't dysregulate me. It doesn't bring my
yes,
entire mood down. It doesn't make me like not spiral, but go through like this train of thought of like thinking about her, my mom, without being bummed out by like some of these like just these kind of harsh realities of like I'm not going to get to know her as a grown
mm,
up. I'm not she's not going to get to know me as a grown up and it's
yeah.
you know, it's sad,
So it,
it sucks, but it doesn't ruin my day. It doesn't I don't I don't shut down. I don't become, I guess, kind of antisocial in a way. Like I'm able to
yeah,
still live my life, but
yeah,
the feeling of being defective is more of a larger just like core belief I have that
yeah, yeah,
is, it plays into all of like a lot of the things in my life, a lot of things that I do, the way that I react, the reason that I am kind of a shithead sometimes. It's a fear of rejection. I want people to like me. I want to be liked. I want to be accepted. I want to be part of the tribe. I'm not a good
yeah.
hunter or gatherer, but like you need entertainment. Like the hunters and gatherers need to come home and watch
They need a
something.
gesture, right?
Yeah.
The greatest thing I think about what you're talking about is when you think about your mother now, you can be sad and you can grieve.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes those feelings of inadequacy come up, but before it was so overwhelming, you weren't able to grieve or actually accept that this is a sad, shitty thing. This is trauma, and it is shitty, and it's always going to be shitty.
Mm-hmm.
No kid should ever have to find their parent dead, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but you're able to now process through some of it. And so I think what you're doing is you're healing, you're grieving through, um, and you're not being as mean to yourself or as harsh to yourself as you had been in the past.
Yes.
Um, and that's the process. It's decrease, and that's you're decreasing the dysregulation that that memory causes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's hopefully that's like therapy in a nutshell when we don't want to, I mean, we're never going to take away pain. We're never going to take away sadness. We're never going to take away grief.
Mm-hmm.
But we can cause it to dysregulate you more so that you're not doing unhealthy things and that you can be able to live your life so that it's not a wall that you can't get through. It's
Right.
something that when you think about it is unpleasant and it's sad and you grieve, but it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't stop you from moving. It doesn't keep you from accomplishing what you want to do in your life.
Yes.
It's still there though.
Yes. It's a.
And so that's the thing that it doesn't, therapy's not magic. It doesn't take away pain,
Mm-mm.
but it helps you to regulate that so that you can do the things in your life you want to do. That you can be a healthier person,
Yeah,
you know?
and I think for me it's kind of also helped me just kind of realize that it's a part of me but it doesn't define me. Like
Yeah.
it is a tiny piece in a giant billion piece fucking jigsaw that is me as a person and
Yeah.
the pieces that are every single other person because we all kind of affect each other and influence and our pieces all go together in some way.
Yeah.
I'm loving
Yeah. No.
this jigsaw.
No, jigsaw puzzle is a great way to look at therapy. We're putting pieces in and we're remembering things and they were giving them their proper place.
Mm,
You know, somebody that would say, I'm going to take that pain away from you and you're never going to think of your mom again. That would be that's no good.
no, it's terrible.
We just want to put the piece in its proper place so that you can grieve over this trauma,
Hmm.
but it doesn't keep you from being able to do what you want to do in your life. You know,
Yes.
when we talk about abnormal psychology or abnormal mental health things, it's is there something getting in your way of you being able to function at the level you want to function at?
Hmm.
That's what mental illness is something getting in our way. And so
Yep.
can we, if we could help things, if we can decrease things from affecting us in a negative way, that we can still function, that's what we want to do.
Hmm. Yeah. But you know, Jeff, I think this has reached its logical conclusion here.
I agree.
I
I want to point out that like those of you who are listening that are have never done therapy, I feel like Tyler has done a real service to you because some of the things he's talking about are I'm not acting as his therapist. I am not his therapist. And so
yeah, yeah.
this is the
Just
conversation. But some of the things that he is talking about are things that you would talk about in therapy. And
mm,
so he is showing you sort of this is what you might be talking about. This is how you might be exploring yourself. And again, the therapist would be a little different than what I am because they're going to be Tyler and I are friends and we have relationships, but
yeah.
they are going to be considerate and they're going to listen and they're going to hear. And so it's that safe place to talk about these things and then to say things like, you know what? You didn't do anything wrong, Tyler. This is not because you were a bad kid. You know,
Yeah.
reassuring and just letting him know, and also using techniques like the EMDR to help that dysregulation so that he can think about this and still do the things he wants to do. And so
Yeah.
this is, if you're scared of therapy or whatever, it's not like magic or we're not going to turn you into like push you into the corner and force you to do something. There's all kinds of therapists and there's some good ones and some bad ones, but in general, you get to set the pace. You get to talk about the things.
Mm-hmm.
And if you needed to say, hey, I need to move on, or can we stop for today? That's okay.
That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Like it's you talking about you and getting an unbiased opinion from a
Yes.
professional.
Somebody that doesn't have a relationship with you, that they do have a relationship with you, but they don't have to pull their punches. Sometimes a friend might feel like, I can't say that,
Yeah.
or, I've got to live with this person. So a therapist has that ability just to say, I can give you a totally objective view of what's going on or what I hear,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Exactly. But I wanted to read the postcard that we got
Have we
from.
gotten a new one?
We got a new postcard while you were on your travels last week there, Jeff.
All right.
And I'm wondering if you might have guys, I'm wondering if you guys went to the same place or not. This is from a longtime listener, Vin Win. He sent us a postcard encouraging anyone who wants to write us. They can send us an email at everythingistraumatic@gmail.com. Vin writes, Dearest Jeff and Tyler, as I wait to hear if you've received any guesses on my previous whereabouts, I thought I would be a bit more obvious with my current one. It is no mystery that I am now at the mystery hole. Where is the
Ooh.
mystery hole? The middle of nowhere. Do some research if you want to find out more, or as I like to call it, bing it. I mentioned in an earlier email that I would share lessons I've learned on my journey. Here is this week's lesson. Mysteries are fun and illusions. Oh, okay, sorry. Mysteries are fun and illusions are too, but being real with those who know you best will lead you to some of the greatest adventures. Traumatically yours, Vin Win.
Read that last part again. Not the traumatically yours, just the
The
little.
less. So, mysteries are fun and illusions are too, but being real with those who know you best will lead you to some of the greatest adventures.
I think that's a great way to end this episode.
Yeah, that was really nice, Vin. Thank you. And if you guys have any guesses on where the mystery hole is, send us a postcard or write it in like Vin's doing, and let's try and figure out which hole Vin's in.
I hope he's safe. I hope he's not like trapped in a hole.
No, no, no. I'm sure he's fine.
He's not gonna have to like saw off one of his legs with like a knife or something to get loose.
No, I don't think it's that kind of hole, Jeff.
Oh, okay. All right. I just know there was that movie about that.
Right. Yeah, yeah. The 128 hours or
Yeah.
whatever. Guys, thank you for listening. And as always, this has been everyone here at Everything is Traumatic. I'm Tyler.
And I'm Jeff.
And as always, please take care of yourself.